This is the third video in the trilogy of looking at where vehicles cross over an intersection but are traveling in the same direction. The two previous videos covered different scenarios regarding this. So either where vehicles are traveling straight and should be traveling straight, but one vehicle then turns through the intersection and crosses over the path of the other vehicle going straight. Or alternatively, we had a look at where vehicles should both be turning through the intersection, but one vehicle decides to continue straight instead and cuts across the path of the other vehicle that is turning through the intersection. In this video, what we're having a look at is where vehicles are both turning through an intersection, but there's an overlap of the lanes as the vehicles turn through the intersection. I've just got one animation and one real-life clip to demonstrate this in this particular video, but I do have another video on the website that goes into this particular scenario in a lot more detail. It's a section on lanes and corners where vehicles are taking a corner and creeping out of their lane into another vehicle's lane. So I'll put a link to that video in the description section of this video below. If we have a look at this animation, you'll see that the driver of the red vehicle is in a lane that's not a turning lane. Driver of the green vehicle is in a turning lane. But what happens here is that this driver decides, instead of going straight, that he's going to turn into the intersection. But because this lane is not accommodated in the intersection, he now has to cross over into the lane of the driver of the green vehicle as he takes the turn, and so causes a collision in doing so. So that's the one scenario. There could be a second and third scenario. Second scenario being that both vehicles are in the compulsory turning lanes, but as they go through the turn, if the driver is in the outer lane of the red vehicle and he crosses over to the inner lane, then he's going to cut off the driver of the green vehicle that's already in the inner lane. So either that scenario, driver in the outer lane cuts across to the inner lane, or vice versa, where the driver of the red vehicle is in the inner lane, and as he goes through the turn, he now crosses over into the outer lane and cuts off the driver of the green vehicle now traveling in the outer lane. This is something that happens quite frequently and has happened to me numerous times. So just a few points to bear in mind that you might find helpful, and that is whenever I go through a turning at an intersection and there are other vehicles that are also at the same time taking that turn, I like to rather hang back a little bit to keep an eye on the vehicle in front of me, so that if the driver does decide to cut over into my lane, be it either the inner lane or the outer lane, that I'm aware of that and I allow enough space between the vehicles for him to do so without a collision involved. It does make it more complex if you do have other vehicles that are behind the vehicle ahead of you that you are keeping track of, because you don't want to be traveling alongside or adjacent to another vehicle as you're going through that turn. So try and avoid being alongside another vehicle, because that makes it a lot more difficult to be able to try and anticipate that vehicle's movement if they are going to cut across into your lane, and to be able to take that corrective action. Whereas if you keep the vehicle ahead of you and also try to stay a little bit ahead of any vehicles that are behind you, so that you've got a space to the side of you, well, then it allows that buffer zone for any vehicles that aren't sticking to their lane. Let's have a look at the animation then. So yeah, as we explained, the driver of the red vehicle crossing over into the lane of the driver of the green vehicle. Real life clip that demonstrates this. These two lanes on the left side are compulsory turning lanes. This is a lane that is meant to go straight. However, the driver of the silver vehicle, instead of going straight, decides instead to take a turn and crosses over into the path of these vehicles here. So as mentioned a little bit earlier, I do cover this in a lot more detail in another video. And so go have a look at the link that I'll put in the description section and examine this particular scenario in more detail as well.
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.